Bulls Nation, the Washington Wizards versus the Chicago Bulls game has just ended. And I think the best way to describe how I feel about this loss is it's a sucker punch to the Chicago Bulls. After a tremendous game against the Orlando Magic last game, the same energy, the same intensity that was brought into this game, it simply was not the same. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls versus the Washington Wizards in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls versus Washington Wizards game reaction where the Chicago Bulls played a game against the Washington Wizards with no Russell Westbrook off of a back-to-back, losing by 20 points to Charlotte, and we could not capitalize on a weakened Washington Wizards side. And again, as I mentioned before, and as I'm going to mention again, this loss feels like a sucker punch for the Chicago Bulls, and we have to perform better if we're going to get any aspirations out of this. There's no growing from a game like this. I'm going to tell you why. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on. Let me know in the comments below overall, what are your thoughts on the game today? Who was your player of the game? And just, are you disappointed? I guess I could ask that question as well. Are you disappointed with the game that we played today? Anyway, the biggest point of discussion for me is that this game, I don't find that losing a game like this is a growing attribute for the Chicago Bulls. I don't take this game with a positive mindset, because at the end of the day, we saw a game against Orlando, and Orlando, a very similar team to Washington, to be honest. Not a fantastic defensive team. Offensively, they can be okay, but they struggle at times. That's how I see the Washington Wizards. They're not a good defensive team. Offensively, obviously, they're Bradley Beal, but outside of that, they kind of struggle on offense. This game, for me, represents no growth because they were off a back-to-back. They were a weakened side. And the Bulls came out, and we looked like the team that had the back-to-back. We looked like the team that was trying to fight the entire game to stay in the game. At the end of the day, if you're a team that wants to be at a level where you want to make the playoffs, whether it's, I don't know when the Bulls will make the playoffs, this season, next season, the season after, I'm not sure. That's not the point. We have aspirations to make that playoffs. Zach LaVine has talked about it. Obviously, you have players like Kobe White, Daniel Gafford has even said it, Thaddeus Young. This team is good enough to make the playoffs. But when you're out there and you're not defending the paint, or you're not really taking good shots, or you're not moving the ball, and then you turn the ball over, and then you don't pass the ball again, and you're sluggish, and it's basically a pick and roll, and see what happens, that's not growth. It's a one step forward, two step back mentality for the Chicago Bulls in how we play some of these games. And I am frustrated, I can't lie. How am I not supposed to be frustrated with this game? There was no Russell Westbrook, and this team did not play well. The Washington Wizards did not play well. Now, I know the game could have changed on a dime if we made more threes. We had so many open threes. If we made them, we win the game. But the fact of the matter is we didn't win the game. So the frustration kicks in of how we let the Washington Wizards, who did not play well, win this game. And this is a concern for the Chicago Bulls, and this is a game they need to grow from. But this is not a growing game, in my opinion, for the Chicago Bulls. I don't see the Bulls growing after this loss. Next game, we can try and bounce back. We've got the Pelicans. We can try and do something there. But this game is a big blow for the Chicago Bulls. This is a game, we were the favorites. We should have won this game, but we didn't win the game. And that is frustrating. That is extremely frustrating to see your team that had an amazing, terrific performance against Orlando come out and not try, at least give an attempt to play defense the same way as they did. And again, it just sucks to see. It really does suck to see. We're going to move on to individual performance, but again, it's frustration, man. When you don't pass the ball like you used to every single game we try to pass the ball as much. We didn't do that today. Every single time we tried to play defense, we didn't do that today. They crushed us in points in the paint. They crushed us in second chance opportunities. There needs to be pride in your performances. This game is one of the worst games, in my opinion, for the Chicago Bulls. there needs to be pride going into the next game. I know we only lost by 4. Of course, the score, which I didn't say before, was 105 to 101. Of course, we lost by 4. It's a close competitive game. You lose games in the NBA, but it's just the way that you lose. And this team was not great, but the Bulls were worse. That is something that needs to change. Anyway, let's move on to the individual performers. Let's start off with obviously Zach LaVine, 35 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. At the end of the day, some of the foul calls didn't go Zach LaVine's way. I'm going to be honest here. I don't necessarily think that last shot that he took was a foul, but I can understand if that foul was given. And there is something to be talked about considering that last possession of the game. Obviously, Zach LaVine thought it was a foul. Most Chicago Bulls players and fans think it's a foul. I think it could have been a foul, but I understand why also it wasn't called as well. It's just one of those situations where, look, it's not a terrible shot. Zach LaVine is known for this type of play. He tried to tie the game up. Things didn't go his way. It's a tough break for Zach LaVine, but he had an amazing game, and you can't just put it all on him for missing that last shot. It just doesn't work like that. So I thought he did very, very well today. And again, it shows in his stats, an all-star level performance once again. And he's just doing his thing out there. And he needs someone to step up with him. Just looking at this box score, not one person really stepped up with him to that level. No one really scored over 20 points besides Zach LaVine. That is a message of disaster. If you're having Zach LaVine doing all the scoring and everyone else is just not really trying to get involved as much as Zach LaVine. And we'll talk about the rest later, but again, something to really be concerned about in my opinion. Patrick Williams, the rookie, 10 points, 1 assist, 6 rebounds. Not as aggressive today as you'd like to see him. Again, he was really efficient. We were a terrible three-point shooting team today. I think Patrick Williams was a bright spot actually making a 3 today because so many players just simply could not make their shots. So again, that's what I have to say about Patrick Williams. Again, another good step in the right direction, in my opinion, from him. I'd like to see more aggression. We saw that against Orlando. He clearly must have loved playing against Orlando. Hopefully he can pick up that performance in our next game against the Pelicans. We need some players to be aggressive and to take things under their control. Because if it's Zach LaVine and nobody else, we will lose games. We need to find that next man to help Zach LaVine. Someone that I can't fault today whatsoever, Denzel Valentine. 11 points, 1 assist, 6 rebounds. Now, the stat line for Denzel Valentine is a very good one. And I don't want to blame him because necessarily he's a bench player that is stepping into the starting lineup in replacement for Larry Marketing. So at the end of the day, the Chicago Bulls have that. He is that person that is trying to step up. And he's doing a very good job in my opinion. You can't question his hustle today. A very good hustle play to save the ball from going out of bounds. He ended up getting us towards a 2-point game very late on. He is doing a lot for the Chicago Bulls. And he's not necessarily the best defender, but he's the effort that he brings is something I wish that we all had. I wish we had the hustle and the effort on defense that Denzel Valentine has. He's not the most talented defender, but he's trying. Where is the rest? Where is that energy from everybody else to try on defense? It's as simple as let the one screen for Bradley Beal and there's a wide open lane for him. There needs to be a balance. Daniel Gafford, in my opinion, did not have a bad game today, and I'm not even going to target him for most improved, but no one protected the rim today. Not one person. That is a disaster class for a team. I feel like the next step, I'm praying Wendell Carter comes back earlier, but the next step, we need a center. We need a center. We need a rim protector. We need a decent defender, even towards the three-point line. We need someone that is going to defend. That's the next step for the Chicago Bulls. Limiting turnovers, it seems like we're doing a much better job at that. Now it's time for the defense, to work on the defense, because that seems to be the next area where we're losing games. We need to slowly minimize all of our weaknesses so we are a tougher team to beat. And we're not always in these close losses. We're always in the close losses. We never get blown out. Most of the times we don't get blown out, and then other times we just let ourselves down. Again, we'll target Daniel Gafford, 10 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. Foul trouble. That's all I can say with Daniel Gafford. I thought he had a much better game towards the start of the game, and honestly, I don't think he had a terrible game at all, but you have to be on the floor to play. He got 5 fouls, he got a technical foul, and he just took himself out of the game. He only played 15 minutes, but I thought in those 15 minutes, he was big for this team. It was almost like it's a big loss. And congratulations for hitting a jump shot. Yeah, fair play to Daniel Gafford. I don't think he's the one to target out of everybody on this list. But again, if you're not on the floor, you're not contributing. So there's two ways to go with that, but I'm not going to single out Daniel Gafford today. He was a bit frustrated. I'm sure he knows that he could play a lot better than what he is. And again, as a young player with the emotion that he brings, it is frustrating. It simply is. Kobe White, 8 points, 3 assists, 8 rebounds. Kobe White needs to step up. It's starting to get towards that time. Larry Markkinen is out. Wendell Carter is out. Otto Porter is out. Chandler Hutchinson is out. Kobe White has to be the man to step up, in my opinion. It can't be Patrick Williams. He's still finding his foot in this league. It can't be Denzel Valentine, who's naturally a bench player. It can't be Daniel Gafford that has to get out with foul trouble. Kobe White is the next man up. He is the second option on this team. You cannot have the lowest score in the starting lineup. You simply cannot get away with that. He was struggling from the field today. We need more from Kobe White. 30 minutes and 8 points is not good enough for the second option on this team. When Larry Markkinen only got 9 points in one of his games against the New York Knicks, that's not good enough. That will never be good enough for a second option. But 8 points, it's the same thing. He is the second option. It is not good enough from a player. He needs to step up. He needs to build his way out of this struggle that he's been having for nearly a month now. It is time for Kobe White to step up. We need to see the best version of him. If he doesn't want to be a playmaker, at least score. Zach LaVine has been doing the bulk of the playmaking. Satoransky is back, and he's doing a fantastic job off of the bench. Kobe White, just be a scorer. In my opinion, personally, that's what I think you need to be. Just be that scorer. Be aggressive. Push the tempo. Most of the time when you push the tempo, something good will happen for Kobe White. I want to see that version of him come back. The one positive I would like to say about Kobe White is that he did crash the balls very well today. At the end of the day, he's a very young player. It is a tough, concerning time for Kobe White. We have to build him up as well. I understand the struggles he's having. I understand he's not performing good enough. But there needs to be positives that you have to take away from Kobe White. He's been one of the better rebounding guards in the NBA this season, and he's still continuing that in this game. And yes, he needs to do better. We all know that. And just hopefully that he will become that player that we want him to be. Thaddeus Young, 14 points, I believe 6 rebounds and 5 assists, or it could be the other way around. With Thaddeus Young, very, very, very similar thing when it comes to Thaddeus Young, a very consistent performance. A few turnovers from Thaddeus Young from very, bullet-type passes, just passing it quick. And players were caught off guard. A lot of that we saw today from the Chicago Bulls. Thaddeus Young was definitely part of that as well. And overall, when he is getting 6 assists in a game as the power forward / center, he is our second best, if not best passer on the team. That is a concern because we need some playmaking in this team. Thaddeus Young is our best playmaker at the moment behind Zach LaVine. We need to see a little bit more from that, from our guards, from our forwards. I think we need to see a little bit more. But again, consistently another good night for Thaddeus Young. I don't think, again, similar to the Magic game, this wasn't his absolute best game, but I thought he did very, very well. And the last person I want to mention is Tomas Satoransky. 9 points, 3 assists, and 7 rebounds for Tomas Satoransky. Now again, playmaking-wise for Satoransky, I thought he was better than Kobe White, but 3 assists doesn't necessarily show that on the stats sheet. But you could just tell by the way that they play, I think Satoransky knows how to find the open man more than Kobe White. Kobe White is very good at pushing the tempo and creating mismatches and finding men from that. When it comes to a set play, which is how most of our play has been in this game, I think Satoransky would have done a little bit better to get more game time. At the end of the day, those are the players I want to talk about, and the must improve will go to Kobe White as well. There are 2 people I want to mention for must improve as well, so I'll give both of them as must improve. Kobe White and Garrett Temple. Garrett Temple has been a fantastic component for the Chicago Bulls, the rotation of this team. And he had 9 rebounds today, which is fantastic for a guard. And defensively, he wasn't too bad either. But The consistency in scoring. We saw at the beginning of the season, Garrett Temple was making all of his shots. He was finding his best shots. And today, it seems like none of his shots go in. And it's been like that for a few weeks, but I failed to mention it with Garrett Temple because I always thought it's just one of those games. He'll bounce back from this. So I feel like there needs to be a more pressure to perform for Garrett Temple because he's playing 28 minutes. He's playing in the 30-minute mark and he's only getting 2 points. That is a player that we rely on heavily as a bench rotation player. And he's doing all the right things, but his shots are not falling. So I feel like maybe a little bit more practice in the shot selection department. He's a veteran. I'm sure he knows how to build his way out of a performance like this. But it does suck to know that he is struggling because I feel like he's a big part of this team, especially off of the bench. And we need to see better. And very similar with Kobe White. I've said all I need to say about Kobe White when I talked about him on the box score, but 30 minutes and 8 points is just not good enough. You're the second option on this team. You're arguably the second best player, third best player on this team. That's just simply not good enough from a caliber of player that Kobe White is. And it has been going on for quite some time, but this is probably a low point for him in his game. Against the Washington Wizards, doesn't have a good defending point guard. I mean, Ish Smith, not a great defender. No disrespect to Ish Smith. He was doing very well for the Wizards today. Not the best defender. They didn't really have a defender that could stop Kobe White, but he wasn't aggressive enough. And when he was aggressive, it was in the worst situations. I feel sorry for Kobe White. People are getting on his back. It is a struggling point for him. I do want to say keep supporting Kobe White. Keep supporting the Bulls. This is a tough loss. And hopefully, with more coaching, with more understanding of how these players are supposed to be throughout the entire season, and maybe with an off season for next season, a little bit of time to develop their game, we can see better performances. But it's a struggle right now. The player of the game is Zach LaVine. I don't think anyone came near Zach LaVine on this court today. Even on the Wizards side, there wasn't too many people that you could say competed with Zach LaVine. I mean, Bradley Beal was probably the only one. Had a very good stat line, Bradley Beal. 35 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. Very similar game from these two players. And again, he's just our best player. It's as simple as that. We need more people to step up. You can't deny Zach LaVine was trying to look for his players today. Everybody could see it. The 6 assists shows it. But players need to step up better and more than what they are. We are a team that is having a lot more injuries than what we probably should. Again, I don't need to mention it. Chandler Hutchinson out. Otto Porter out. Wendell Carter out. Larry Markkinen out. We need more players to step up. We need more players to step up. We cannot rely on Zach LaVine and Zach LaVine alone to take us out of dark situations, to take us out of 10-point leads, 15-point leads. That doesn't work. One player will not build you out. It has to be a team effort. And Billy Donovan praises the team when they move the ball. You need to move the ball more. This game is a prime example. The Chicago Bulls record is 9-14. I believe... Where are we? I think we're nearly 12th. We're 12th or 11th in the standings, which is frustrating, of course, because we need to be a lot higher than what we are. But again, we can't blame anybody but ourselves for this loss. This is the Bulls' fault. You can't blame bad ref calls. You can't blame that he didn't get a foul in the last second of the game. At the end of the day, with the opportunities that we had, with the offense that we could have had, we could have blown this team away. But at the end of the day, if you don't defend, you will not win games. You can't give away the points in the paint that you do. And if you're not making shots, you have to take it into the paint yourself. We didn't see enough of that. This needs to be a learning experience from the Chicago Bulls. The next game is against the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, I'm not thinking of this game as downhill. I'm thinking of this game as just a poor representation of how the Bulls can play. Magic was a prime example of how the Bulls can play. The Wizards is the prime example of how the Bulls will play most often, and it's very frustrating. The Pelicans game, I still believe we can win this game, and let's just see how it goes. And we're going to hopefully see a little bit more from the Chicago Bulls in this game. They're not the best three-pointer shooting team. They have picked it up as of late, but hopefully the Chicago Bulls can take this to our advantage and fight for these games. Fight for these games. Get these wins that are important for this season. This Wizards game was important and we've blown it. The Pelicans game, we need to win that game. Simple as that. We need to win that game. and hopefully we will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. I also want to talk a little bit more about the Derrick Rose trade to the Knicks. So I'm going to be making a trade video in the next one. Take care and peace.